Hey guys, welcome back. Reese and Ben here pursuing at the arts. And today in the video you're going to be seeing a little bit of our time with some more techniques from Le Jeu de la Hache.
Check it out now.
Paragraph 16. If your axes are joined one cross against the other, and he pushes you to make you recoil, you can merely move half a step with your front foot to draw your axe back to you, and immediately place the dagger of your axe between his bec de falcon and his hand, and close as you can to the cross from the side towards his right arm, pushing his axe to the other side. While following up, you can advance your left foot towards his back, pushing him by means of demi-hache against his shoulders, and push him to the ground.
Push.
Paragraph 17. Moreover, if he comes to you with the dagger of his axe forward to give you a thrust, and you have your axe in the same position as his, when you see him come at you, you can step towards his back as far as you can, so that he finds nothing in front of him. While doing this move, you must push with the flat of the tail of your axe onto his neck to make him trip forward. If you fail, return quickly to axe guard.
Alright guys, that concludes the video. We thank you very much for watching as always. Now in this part of the video we're just going to discuss about the things we learned along the way. So the first technique was paragraph 16, and that's where when you get into the bind and the crosses, press forward and then takes half a step back, hooking the dag of the axe against the bec and using demi-hache to shove me over. So this one's pretty straightforward, but we like this one a lot because it was sort of like that, has been referred to as like the kung fu stuff. Mm-hmm. So response to pressure. So when I come into the bind, we played around with this a little bit where I can press forward in the bind and then simply thrust them in the face.
Yeah. I found that binding at the crozet, per se, below the crosses is more common bind that you're going to have. And it makes sense that if he applies pressure that he can gain an advantage to where he could gain a thrust, which is what we did for this particular scenario. This technique's really cool because as he presses my axe down and pushes in where he believes he's going to be able to thrust me, as I take that half a step back and drop my axe towards me, I very sneakily disengage from his axe, which is harder to feel while he's trying to push in. And then I get that engagement on the back. He's already pushing the direction that I want him to go, and I just add a little bit to it, which causes him to lose his balance and makes it much easier as I step in to strike down with the demi-hache.
Yeah, and then getting the dag behind the bec, the beak, that's the weak part of my axe, and then I have no structure getting out of that bind. So at that point, you just kind of have to accept it, and then I'm just going to get shoved. So we know then, of course, from the plays, from the previous sections, the plays of the demi-hache, we know all about those, you know, getting behind them on the side, whatever, and giving a good shove. And he's going to push me between my legs and then sends me flying.
And experimenting this technique with the steel axes that are also sharp, the connection that you get is much stronger with those axes when you get in there. The plastic axes that we use for actual fighting and practice, they're a little more slippery, but you can still get a pretty good purchase there. So it's still a viable technique even with the simulators.
Yeah, and another thing to note that in the text it says binding the crosses, which sometimes refer, the part of the axe where you get the dag, the beak, and the maul or mai, and they usually refer to that as the cross. But when we tried that out, there's no way to.
It's less effective.
Yeah, you just get bind, you get stuck.
Yeah, you're at a further distance, and pushing in gains you no advantage from that point. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to bind at the tip of the axe and then for them to push you to bury you down, because you're both at such a range that the thrust is going to be ineffective, and you gain no advantage other than pushing them back a little bit, which your opponent's just going to continue to dance. So it didn't seem to work out too well martially in our eyes. So binding with the crosses being in front instead of binding it with the tails, this being a different crossing, it made much more sense in the manner that we did it in the video to us.
Yeah. So, but try it out yourself and see if you guys come up with something else. So, the next one, paragraph 17, the follow-up with that, is where I thrust it in, and he did a side step and then use a tail to hit the back of my head. Mm-hmm. This one's pretty straightforward, but we thought this was really neat because it exploited my momentum's going forward, and it says in the text that if you move aside, I'll find nothing. And then by having the tail hit the back of my head, he's hitting me between my legs, so it sends me flying forward. And he was being gentle in the video, but I was going forward, and we didn't want to break the camera for one, but he did this to me in the past, and there's absolutely no way, no reason why he couldn't just hurl me over. So we're trying to be nice because we're friends and stuff, but.
Yeah, an interesting point on this one is it says hit with the flat of your tail, which is kind of a cool little history type thing. It just indicates that on the axes that they were using, the haft had a flat, so it had a side that was different so it's not a round haft. Our axes coincidentally just happen to have a flat the way we've hafted them, so it works out. Structurally, it's a nice position to be in. It's not the strongest thrust. Straight on would be harder, but because of the thrust coming at my face, as I void and I raise my axe to the flats, I raise the axe and I actually can parry the thrust as well as strike at the same time if the thrust is close enough to my face before I get out of the way. Ideally, as he's thrusting from too far away, where he's got to really commit that thrust into my face. And this would probably also start in with a little bit of baiting of me leaving my face exposed, coming face forward as it says in Lejeune, and my axe down out of the way, and getting him to commit to that long thrust. And then my sidestep and strike is so much more effective because he's committed his weight forward, and I just assist him to continue on the direction that he's already headed.
Yeah, and like I said before, my momentum's going forward, so I'm already committed to that thrust, and then suddenly I'm going to be pushed back here and go this way, and it throws off my balance a lot. So, yeah, pretty cool technique. I look forward to trying to do that on somebody in the future, the deed of arms. So we'll see what happens. Of course, by showing you guys our progress through this, we're actually sort of revealing our secrets, so someone can potentially do that same thing to us. So we'll see what happens. So, but yeah, guys, that's what we learned along the way, and I found it really cool. We are getting into the left-handed section of the play of the axe, the Luigi Lash, but that one's really weird. We need some more time on it.
Yep.
But
it's a mental challenge of reading the dialect, talking about as he does this with his left hand to your right hand, and then you with your left hand to his right left. It gets confusing.
Yeah. So,
so we need a true left-hander to help play the part, so we don't have to flip-flop ourselves in those positions so much and confuse ourselves.
Yeah. So we're both right-handed, so it just kind of confuses us. So we're working through the section that's like the last section of the treatise. So it would be kind of exciting to get through the whole thing, and yeah, we got a lot more on the way too. Some more gladiatoria plays, and then. Kind of go from there. So, but guys, thank you very much for watching. We really do appreciate it. A special thanks to our Patreon supporters for keeping the channel alive. You guys are awesome.
Yep.
Special thanks also to Metatron for giving the channel a shout out, and he also became a patron as well, which is super cool. So hopefully in the future we'll be able to meet up and do some harness fighting. So it'd be cool. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.